Hello everyone. We have the privilege today for our last interview series of the year, and we are honored to have in our office Mr. Nathan Vooys. He's the CEO of StoneSprings Hospital. Nathan, welcome, and thank you very, very much for being here. I know you are so busy, man, but we are so proud that we can steal a little bit time from you today.
Thank you, Natasha, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to come here and talk to you a little bit about our organization. And I'm happy to make the time because it's well worth the effort.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about you, some bio about you, and how did you end up on this great hospital, StoneSprings?
So I have a little bit of a different background for people that typically run hospitals. I have an undergraduate degree in European history, but I always had a love for helping people. And I thought originally when I was in high school and growing up that I would become a physician, but ultimately I went down a different path. And after a couple of years working, I went back and got an MBA degree, and a hospital company came knocking at the university where I was, and I realized it was an opportunity to still work in the healthcare industry, but not as a provider, but on the business side of it. And I knew within a few months of starting that job that was the career I was meant to do. And so I worked for a period of time for one hospital chain, a different one than I work for now. And then about 10 years ago, the company that owns and operates StoneSprings Hospital recruited me, and I joined them. And I started off in the southeast in Georgia, and I popped around to 2 different locations in Florida and then into Indiana. And I was in Indiana when the role here at StoneSprings Hospital became available, and I had no connections to Virginia. But my wife and I had been pursuing career opportunities for me the whole time. And so I came out here. It was a beautiful area, right? It's growing fast. This was in 2020, so it's still in the pandemic. But you could see that the growth was going to happen here. The facility was small, but very well taken care of, and it was just an incredible opportunity. I thought for my family, we have 3 children who at the time were all in elementary school. This was a great place to live and for my family to be happy, but also professionally, the hospital was at the right place. And I think professionally it would keep me very active and engaged as well. And so it met both of those needs. And so my wife and I and our kids moved here in November of 2020, and we've loved almost every minute of it since. It has really lived up to the expectations we had, which were really high, and it's just been a great community to be a part of, and we really enjoy it.
Yeah. So how does your approach to leadership align with your facility mission and values? So
to answer that question, I need to tell you the facility mission, right? So it's our mission is, above all else, we're committed to the care and improvement of human life. And that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, and all those things can happen at the same time in the hospital. So on any given day, you have people who are having the best day of their life, right? Maybe they're welcoming another child, for instance. Right? It's a joyous moment. You also have people who are going through some very scary things and some very scary times. And of course, you have people who are dealing with end-of-life issues. And at the end of the day, I mean, we are an organization within their 4 walls. It's people who have dedicated their professional life to taking care of others. And that's for everybody from our cleaning service, right? You can relate to that industry, all the way up to myself. And so, we often start all of our meetings with what we call a mission moment, where we talk about something that's happened in the facility in the last couple of days or weeks that really brings home the mission of what we're doing, right? It's a good story, or it's a letter we received from a patient or a family member about the care we provided, how we made them feel, maybe during a tough time. And it's those things that really ground us, that make us realize, it's more than just about, the day-to-day and the spreadsheets and the meetings and the investments we have to make, but it's really, at the end of the day, about, are we providing the people at the right time in a patient's life to give them what they need? And sometimes that's a lot of intervention and a lot of medical care, and sometimes it's just somebody to hold their hand and say, I'm here with you, let's talk about what you're feeling, and we're going to try to make you feel better or comfortable as you deal with something very difficult. And so my role, I see, is to allow our caregivers to feel the freedom to do that, to give the patients and their families what they need in that moment. And I do that by telling them that I want them to do that, certainly, but I try to model those behaviors. You know, I visit patients most days. I make it to a patient floor, and I want to know about their stay because I'm looking for areas of opportunity for the facility, but I'm also just trying to connect with somebody who could be a neighbor or somebody that I pass in this, you know, in the street, and I want them to feel that I'm concerned about their stay and their visit, and I model that for our staff. I want our staff to have that same mentality, and so I think that's been we've been really successful. You know, we measure many things, but our patient satisfaction is one thing that we measure, and you know, patients can have a good experience in the hospital even when they're dealing with a difficult situation. And those are the ones that are really special, right? You can go there for a reason you don't want to be there, but still recognize that our team did a great job. And those are the moments that tell us that we're doing a good job when it comes to modeling our mission. And we do really well in our objective scoring. And it's also little things like looking at our reviews on Facebook or on Google. You know, again, we're in the business of taking care of people, many of whom are at the worst point in their life or they're in a scary moment. But if we can exceed their expectations and they are willing to go out and put a comment or you know, call out a caregiver for a good reason, you know, that's a really powerful moment, and we share those with our staff because we want them to be motivated by those things as well. So, you know, we just try to put our hands around that culture and really guard that as an organization.
Can you share with us a moment from the time you took over, some accomplishment you are, you know, you've been proud of, and probably it is so many. But like one or two accomplishment you change, or when you did step into the hospital.
So I'll give you 2 examples. One thing is something that we've been able to maintain. A little bit of background. So our facility will celebrate its 8th birthday in 2 days. December, or actually tomorrow, December 7th is our 8th-year anniversary.
Off one day, but
yeah.
Happy anniversary!
Thank you very much. So we're still a young hospital in a growing area, you know, finding our footing, but we've grown incredibly fast. I was looking at some of our key metrics, are things like the number of patients that we admit in the hospital, the number of babies we deliver, the number of ER visits we have, the number of patients that come to us for surgery. And in the last 3 years, in many of those metrics, we have doubled, if not more than doubled, our total volume. So there's definitely we've reached a tipping point in a volume perspective where people are coming to us, people are coming back to us more than one time. Those are all things that you look for in a newer hospital as it becomes mature. And that's obviously challenging, right? We want growth. We want more patients seeking care closer to home. And as home, you know, Aldie, Sterling, Dulles, Southern Loudoun County grows, there's more people that call that place home. We want more people coming to our hospital. But there are some things about that growth that we don't want to change. And there are things like our patient satisfaction or our quality outcomes, right? As we get bigger, we want to make sure that quality is always a must-do, right? If you can't do it with quality, you shouldn't be doing it at all. And so our quality has stayed extremely strong through all of our growth. Our company owns and operates about 185 hospitals in 22 states, plus a couple of them in the United Kingdom. And you know, we used to do a scorecard where we would rank all the hospitals based on a combined score of quality outcomes. And StoneSprings was regularly in the top 5 in the whole company, and we ended at number 1 last year in the entire company. Another really important thing is we measure the number of patients that acquire an infection while in the hospital, right? Obviously, we don't want anyone to come to us and get sick or harm comes to them because of something that happens to them in the hospital. And so hospital-acquired infections is something that CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the federal government, requires us to report if we have a hospital-acquired infection. And so we are over 1,060 days since our last hospital-acquired infection. That's almost 3 years.
That's amazing.
While we've doubled our volume.
That's a big accomplishment.
Yeah. And what I tell our staff and our leadership team is that's not by accident. We haven't gotten lucky. It is a system in place to follow evidence-based medicine that is followed by all members of our care team all the time, right? I mean, it's everything from hand washing to proper protocols around Foley catheters, to proper use around central lines and preventing bloodstream infections. You know, there's a lot of things that go into this, but it's not by accident that we perform this well. It's because we've got a great team following great processes and caring about every single patient like it's their own family member. And so that's one thing I'm extremely proud of. The growth is great, but we've maintained the quality. The other thing I would say I'm proud of is the growth, right? I think that the team now is very much aligned with working with our medical community, our physician practices, as partners, right? We realize that if a physician practice has an issue or a problem that we can solve, that they'll come back to us to help again and again. And what we want is our physicians to feel like that their patients are going to get the best care possible, and that if they have concerns, if they have questions, even if they have suggestions or strategy opportunities, that they know that the door is always open, that we'll sit down and talk to them about what that is. And I tell our physicians this often, right? I mean, we can't say yes to every request every time, right? That's just not practical. But we work really hard to try to make it feel like the kind of environment where their input is sought after, it's valued, and if we can't do something that they would like to do, then we try to figure out a way to get to yes. And we just see that as the recipe of a good partnership, and I think our medical community has responded well to that. We've had several practices that maybe have been in the area for years, in a central location. They set up what we call like a satellite office, right? They're just, want to make sure that this is going to work.
Yeah.
Want to see how this feels. And then after a couple of months, they come to us and say, oh, we want to expand. We want to bring more providers. We want to have more time in your office. And that has worked really well over and over again. We've had some major groups that have brought us their business and have committed to working in our ORs, admitting patients to our floors, delivering patients in our labor and delivery unit. And we have more of that in the pipeline coming. And so I'm the kind of person that if something's working, I don't want to mess with it. So that's the recipe for our success. And I think that is what I'm most proud of is that seems to be working, and our medical community seems to be responding positively to that status, that strategy.
Wow, that's great. Hardest decision you ever made in your role?
Yeah, the hardest decisions I have to make are, as with any business or any family, right? You don't have unlimited resources, right? There's a finite dollar amount that you can spend on the things that you need to get done, and sometimes you have to make hard decisions about what to prioritize over something else. Like this year we have to work on labor and delivery, and we're not able to push forward our surgical services, or we're going to spend most of our time in the emergency room and invest in our emergency room care, and I can't spend as much time doing that in our outpatient services. Those are some of the most challenging discussions because, I feel like most everyone that works in healthcare does it for a deeper reason than just financial, right? They really want to care about people. And so whether you're, doing some of the most acute care like open heart surgery or life-saving measures or critical care medicine, or you're doing it on the outpatient side like an outpatient lab or an outpatient imaging center, the people that work in those areas genuinely care about improving the life of the people that they're there for. And so the things that they want to do are very legitimate, right? They are going to impact their patients positively. And I have to sometimes be the bad guy to say, you're right, that's a great idea and that's a great strategy, but I have to put it on hold because I can't do everything that I want to do. Yeah. So that's tough. I will also tell you that, as with any industry, right, people are there, people make mistakes, and,
we all do. In my business, it happens.
It happens. And at the end of the day, a hospital, it's really not about the bricks and mortar and the equipment. It's about the people, right? And so we are an organization where people who are trained in very different specialties have to get together and coordinate really well for that patient to have the right experience and outcome. But sometimes things happen that you're not intending, right? It's a complicated environment. It's a lot of human beings, and sometimes there are things that happen that are not intended that we have to deal with, and those can be tough because it can have a serious impact on somebody, right? You're talking about patients, but you're usually talking about people who are trying to do the right thing and whose heart is in the right place. Those are also challenging situations. Some of the ones that are the most tough, and some of the ones that keep me up at night are those stories where something happened and we had to, unfortunately let go of somebody, or maybe it was a medical staff member that we had to say, you know what, we can't operate the way, that we've been operating, and it's ultimately meant that maybe they leave the organization. And those are hard. I think the big picture, those are the right conditions. We're doing it for the right reasons, but, I'm very aware that everybody that's in medicine is there because they want to do good for other people. And sometimes the goals and the ways we get there don't align, and we have to sort of separate, and that's challenging, but that's necessary for a healthy and growing organization. And so those are the ones that stand out to me as the most difficult.
Talk to us a little bit about diversity and inclusion, how it is important these days, you think, and why? On every business, not probably on your hospital.
Right.
We know that diversity and inclusion is very important.
Absolutely.
These days.
I think a diverse and inclusive workforce is critically important to success. In our industry in particular, if you look at the demographics of Loudoun County, you look at how it's changed over the last 20 or 30 years, it's gotten a lot more diverse. But the growth and diversity in Loudoun County in particular has been especially strong in southern Loudoun County, which is our primary service area. And so as you walk around and you look at our patient population, you'll see a very diverse mix of people. And what I'm pleased in is if you look at my employee base or my medical staff base, they are also extremely diverse.
It is.
A full 50% of our employees identify as non-Caucasian, for example, and I think that's wonderful. I've worked very hard to bring in more diversity into our board and to our leadership team to represent the community we serve. And sometimes it's as simple as just, when you get more ideas, when you get people from different backgrounds and different walks of life in leadership positions where they can make decisions, I feel like the organization as a whole gets better input, and with better input, you can make better output decisions, right? Taking care of people the way that they are expecting and makes them comfortable. And that is a conversation we have regularly is, are we meeting the needs of our community? And the way our community looks might be different from the way another community looks. And that's okay, but are we being responsive to what's in our backyard? And I think we're doing a really good job. There's always work to be done there, but I do think we're on the right track, and I think we are committed to making sure that we have diverse viewpoints, we're inclusive of all individuals, and I think that ultimately leads to better patient care, and certainly my business.
Yeah, this is great. I want to stop there quick here because there is something, it was in my mind, I need to ask about it.
Okay.
The robot.
Yeah, the robot, right.
I know, I serve on the board and I help Nathan, and I appreciate for you guys to bring me in to be part of your family. Where we're seeing the robot industry, is that something like it's going to be at some point like replacing doctor or something? Can you talk to us a little bit?
Great question. So in our industry, we use a tool primarily in the operating room that we refer to as robots. And these are not robots in the way that many people think of robots. They're not autonomous, right? They're not something you set and walk away and the robot does something. It's really like an advanced surgical tool, just like a scalpel or an endoscope or a laparoscope are tools that a surgeon uses. The robot is a very high-end piece of equipment that our surgeons use. And so what it looks like is in the operating room itself, there is a part of the machine that has what we call arms, right? That go into the patient's body, and a camera that goes into the patient's body, just like traditional surgery. But the physician is in the room and is sitting at a console looking through a an image field and can see what the camera inside the patient's body sees. It has control over the other arms that are in the patient's body. But he is sitting at a console in the room, but not at the bed where the patient is. And the beauty of the technology is it allows, first of all, the surgeon is in a sitting position that's a lot more comfortable. So for really long surgical cases, the surgeon is fresher. It's not as straining on them.
Yeah.
They can sit there and they can do it in a more comfortable way, which is better for everybody. The second thing is that the visualization through the camera is much better than the naked eye. And then the movements that the physician can make on the console that control inside the patient's body are a lot more accurate. And because of all these things together, you have typically smaller incision sites, less blood loss, quicker recovery, less pain is often reported. And so patients, when they recover from this, are actually back to work or back to their normal life much faster. So robotics is really about pushing the envelope of surgical technology to make it better for the patient, better for the surgeon themselves, and it can extend the surgeon's career as well. So in our facility, we have 4 different surgical robots. Yeah, we have GYN surgery, we have urology, we have general surgery, we have orthopedic surgery. They can all be done robotically. And in many cases, surgeons and patients seek out cases where they can do this work because it's great technology that really has tangible benefits. And it's in Northern Virginia in particular, you have a community that's very comfortable with technology, right? We have a lot of technology companies and people who are working in the technology industry. So as a community, we're comfortable with technology. We're comfortable investing in technology. So we offer it to our medical staff and our patients, and it's adopted at a high rate. And so we will continue to invest in robotic technology to meet the demand of our community and our medical staff. And so that's what we did this year, and bought another a very expensive but a very necessary piece of robotic technology. It's a lot of fun.
And it has been successful surgeries.
Absolutely.
After it, so
yeah, we were growing at such a rate that we wanted to buy this additional robotic technology so that we could continue. Right, we never have to limit the availability of our robotic time as we talk about it. We always want surgeons to be able to book a case if they want to do it robotically, that they have many options on days and times that they can do that robotic. They don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks. They don't have to wait till the end of the day. That we have robotic technology available to those who want to use it and are qualified to use it really within 24 hours of needing to. And that's unique.
Yeah, very unique. It's great. This is kind of like a small question, and with the respect of all other hospitals around us, because I believe we are all sisters. It doesn't matter what hospital we go to. It's all about how you feel when you are patient. Absolutely. And where you need to go. We know that StoneSprings Hospital is part of the HCA Healthcare.
Right.
What differentiates HCA Healthcare and you guys be part of that from other competitors?
So you're right. I mean, in the scope of everything, we are all part of a system, right? And there is great healthcare in Northern Virginia, as there is across the United States in many communities. I believe that HCA facilities provide great healthcare, but there are other great healthcare organizations that are available. And in many ways, we have very similar mission, right? We are there for the patient. We want to make people better. And as you said something that triggered with me. I always feel that patients should get the care that they need where they feel the most comfortable. I hope it's my facility. I hope it's an HCA facility like Reston Hospital, that's a sister facility of ours, or Dominion Hospital, that's a sister facility of ours. But if for whatever reason that's not the case, I fully support seeking out healthcare where they feel most comfortable. I think what makes us special or unique, I think from an organization perspective, we've been around for 50 years. We were founded by 2 physicians and a third person who was a very successful businessman in the United States. But we have that sort of the physician caring and compassion as part of our DNA. It guides many of the decisions that we make. It guides many of the investments that we make in our organization. I think specifically in Northern Virginia, one thing that differentiates us from some of the other medical providers is we tend to partner with independent physician groups, right? So you have either physicians who are employed by the hospital, or you have an independent practice, right? It's a doctor or a group of doctors that has said we're going to open up our own business, our own clinic, and see patients in our specialty. We'll refer them out for imaging or lab work, or they have to be hospitalized to the hospital. And when I want to do a surgical case or make a delivery, I can choose where I go. So that practice has a choice. They're independent. We work really hard to work with independent practices to make our facility the one that they want to come work at. We don't. We find a lot of value in that. Now, we do employ some providers, right? We do that in strategic areas. But I think what looks different is that many of the physicians that will treat patients at StoneSprings Hospital are not employed by StoneSprings Hospital. And that is an important distinction. And I like to tell people that I feel like most of the physicians that are in our hospital are there because they choose to be, right? They want to be there.
Yes.
They see something about our care team. They hear something from their patients about the type of care they receive that they like. They find an open door to administration where we can talk through issues or opportunities in a very collegial way, like we're colleagues and we're partners. And I think that's what makes us a little bit unique specifically here. Now in other areas, HCA hospitals have bigger employment bases, or the competitors maybe don't employ as many as they do in Northern Virginia. But I think that is one thing that makes us a little bit unique in this area, is largely there's a very high percentage of physicians that are employed by health systems. But within the HCA systems in Northern Virginia, that is kind of the opposite. We employ very few, and we partner with independent practices.
That's great. Key things you're trying to accomplish next year, 2024.
Quality, right? You assume that quality is always the same. So we have some really exciting things going on at the hospital for next year. In particular, our women's services is going to grow astronomically. There's a practice very recently that came to us looking for a new home for delivering their patients. They are going to start in January. That practice alone will probably drive our delivery volume up by 50% next year over this year. We are bringing on another OBGYN into our employed OBGYN practice on campus, bringing the total number to 4 there. And by bringing that person on, we'll be able to open up capacity in the office on the StoneSprings campus, but also be able to offer more slots to patients in the Gainesville area where we have a satellite facility. So our women's services is growing rapidly, and we are putting a lot of things into place to continue that momentum. We also are actually going to build out a 6th operating room. So we've been a 5 OR facility for 8 years. And so in probably the second quarter of next year, we're going to have a 6th operating room, and that will help us to continue to grow and bring in more surgeons and support our surgical services department. So it's a lot about growth in the surgical services area, in the women's services area, while we continue to operate effectively and efficiently across our facility, ensuring that we're always doing things quality and we're always trying to strive for the highest patient experience possible, given that. So that's what we're working on.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
So we want to thank you very much. I mean, first, thanks to you and all your staff. I personally had 2 experiences at your hospital, and I can't tell you how much I was pleased. I went with a strong pain, and in 15 minutes, I was a new person. I mean, it was great. I went to ER, and the experience, and the doctor came and he sat with me and he talked to me and shared with me what's going on. Why is this happened to me? And I mean, unbelievable. I had 2 best, and you know, people doesn't like to go to ER, but I would tell you also the doctors. You know, like I go to your doctors right now. You know, like to check on my health, and I had the best experience so far.
I'm glad to hear that.
And this is all coming up of leadership, great leadership, and great staff. I mean, the staff is very important of any organization, because you won't be here if you don't have this great staff. Everybody, you know,
I totally
who
agree.
work together with you.
I totally agree with that. And I you know, our facility is comparatively it's small, but we're mighty. We've got great people. We've got great processes in place. We can take great care of the vast majority of conditions that people experience. And so We love doing that. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. We'll continue to do that. And as our community continues to grow, we are committed to investing in people, in services, in the physical space if needed to continue to meet that need. And I think our StoneSprings Hospital in particular, 10 years from now, is going to look vastly different. I think it'll be physically different. I think we'll be able to do more complex things than we're able to do today, and we'll have far more people at the hospital working. And so it is my mission that as we grow, that we continue to keep our culture sacred and our focus on quality sacred, but that we are expanding to meet the needs of the community as the community grows and changes over the next 10 years, which is going to be significant. So that's what we're here for, and that's what we're glad to do.
And we wish you all good luck
Thank
for
you.
all your mission, and I'm sure you are going on the right path.
I appreciate that.
And thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.